The war is the history of humanity. They say that violence, Carlos Marx and Federico Engels have said that violence has been the generator of history. And humanity, after what was known as Second World War, humanity thought it was achieving an oasis period, a peace oasis, a way of living together. The United Nations organization was founded on top of the experience of the League of Nations that existed before, and Hitler had destroyed it together with Mussolini with the complicity of London, Paris, and Washington. They had destroyed the League of Nations and the League of Peace. After the year 45, we are now heading towards the 80th anniversary of the founding of the United Nations. We had all hope. But afterwards, there were more maneuvers of the old empires and new empires trying to impose a geopolitics of control over the whole world, robbing the natural resources and dominating political and military the whole world, so that the world would respond to them and would respond to their own powers, because they believe they are predestined. It's a little bit like the philosophy that Hitler sustained. And I say Hitler, but I could say other names. Let's say Hitler for now. The philosophy of a higher race, with which he tried to enslave the world. If the Soviet Union had not had stopped Hitler, humanity would have lived at dark times of new enslavement, first Europe, Asia, Africa, and it would have gotten here. Here we have a lot of people who have studied fascism and how it was coming and entering here in the circles of multimillionaires in Maracaibo, in Caracas. We have family names very well known that were part of the Nazi Party. And one can talk about Hitler and the Nazi regime because of what happened and because they were won. They were conquered by the Soviet Union, by Stalin. At the end, this ideology with which these wars are imposed, they are ideologies that come from fascism, from supremacists of yesterday that are also the supremacists of today, who try to impose on us the fear of war and the fear of a bad example. But humanity has said no more. As Fidel and Che said in the 60s, humanity has said stop, and no more to imperialist wars, no more to colonialist models, no more to supremacist models. We are for peace. Peace. They let the ongoing genocide in Gaza continue. Every day, 100 Palestinians are killed, 60 children, elderly people, women. They have destroyed over 80% of the households, schools, mosques, hospitals. They destroyed everything. And that Western world of European elites and US elites, they supported them, and they supported that destruction in Gaza, a genocide that was live streamed through social networks. Then they went against the people in Lebanon, and just as well, they killed hundreds of people in the south of Beirut, in the south of Lebanon. There are brotherly people. Then they went for Syria, and they continue to shell Syria, Netanyahu and the Zionists. Now they continue and now they pretend to go towards Iran. And they have unleashed a war in which Iran has shown a military power. Very important. And as Iranians say, they have still shown all their strategic weapons. What do we want from humanity? What do we want? Do we want a nuclear war to escalate? I don't think so. Do we want a war that continues to grow around the world and take the whole Asian region in the Central and Middle East and Europe and take all those territories? Do we want that to escalate? The whole world? The ones who have the political power to push this war with just one word, they could stop it, but every day supremacists continue to fuel these disputes. Here in Venezuela, we are for peace, for a fair peace, and we're backing the people of Palestine, of Lebanon, of Yemen, of Syria, and the beautiful people of the Republic of Iran. We support them with all our heart. And from here, this warrior people of the Bolivarian people, we will continue building our stability and our peace that is looked upon with the peoples of the world. The people of Iran has never made an aggression on anyone. Who is bombing every day its neighboring countries? Iran? No, the Zionist state headed by Netanyahu. Who is testing bombs and destroying buildings and hospitals, schools? Who? It's not something from now. It's been for the past 75 years. So I think that humanity has entered a new phase. It seems, and I say this with regret, a culture of peace was built in the world. Before, the wars were sought and celebrated. Century after century, the wars were the common thing. The uncommon thing were periods of peace. And after World War II, how that is called, well, we built a culture of peace and international coexistence, and the criminal attacks of the Zionist state headed by Netanyahu against the Palestinian people, against the Lebanese people, against the Syrian people, and against the Yemen people and the people of the Republic of Iran has broken every scheme of the international law, every rule of the international law. I wonder, Maria Antonieta, I'm sorry for the length of this response. Where is the International Court of Justice? Where is the Criminal Court of Justice? The International Court of Justice and the International Criminal Court are accomplices in this war. They're to blame for this war because they are accomplices of the genocide in Gaza. If there had been real justice from the ICC and the ICJ, we have been saved from shellings, and this war would have been prevented if we had real international justice. If the ICJ and the ICC, that are two different courts, if they weren't continuously sending the mandates and following the mandates of London, Washington, and Brussels, something different would be our scene. And only justice and respect to international law will lead us to peace. So all the images are very strong. And no one can be happy about war. And we will do anything that's at our hands from the Bolivarian government and the voice of the Bolivarian revolution in favor of the right to life and the need to respect international law and international coexistence, as is in the UN Charter. We will continue, you will see, from ALBA and from America for Peace and for the right of the Iranian people to continue to live and develop in peace. Well, President, we continue to going over this scene, and one of the other international news is Iran is evaluating the closing of the Hormuz Strait. What would happen in that case? Well, that is part of the escalation. If they continue to threat, if they continue to shell a peaceful people like the Iranian people, Iran in self-defense, legitimate self-defense, could escalate a plan that will guarantee the rights of their own people. This is the consequence that a war, you know how it begins, but you do not know how it develops and how it ends. In this case, whoever is involved have made the decisions, have put the arms, have authorized that attack to Iran, and they are responsible for stopping this war. Iran, what they are doing is exercising their international right to self-defense. Okay, and precisely, Mr. President, one of the other pieces of news in Al Mayadeen is Russia reiterates its offer of mediation between Iran and Israel. Well, if one looks at the geopolitical scheme at the moment, I think it's a very internal, personal thought of mine that only an honorable leadership like the one of the President Putin or President Xi Jinping could reinstate this situation and could take the situation to a ceasefire moment, to a negotiation and lasting peace. I cannot see, for example, Macron. Could he achieve peace? Impossible. Starberg, London, Merz from Berlin, Germany. London and Paris were the ones who encouraged and pushed Hitler to war until the point that Hitler turned against them. And Netanyahu, sooner rather than later, will turn on them again. You will see them. I hope that this war can be stopped. I hope it can be stopped in time before it gets other factors involved that no one will be able to control. What do you aspire to? A war that is completely destructive and finishes with all international law? Or do we have any leadership in the world that can be able to mend the situation? I can only think of the leadership of Putin and President Xi Jinping to be able to bring people together at a table and be able to respect that word instead of using negotiations as a way of damage to continue wars. And also, Mr. President, one more news in Digital Zone. President Erdogan is saying to other media that Israel is the highest threat for the Middle East. Well, the president of Turkey is also a very honorable president. He has a role to play in the search for reapproachment, for a peace process. The Muslim world that includes the whole Arab world, Persia, Iran, Turkey, a good portion of Africa. All that Muslim world has a very important political power and territorial power that in geopolitics right now is very determinative in this moment. If all the Muslim world, including Africa, Turkey, Iran, stand together in this moment, there will be peace, and we will avoid a war that may be able to destroy all the peoples that are trying to develop on their own means. So President Erdogan and the whole Muslim world has a great role to play, and I wish that they activate initiatives with Russia and China to activate peace. It's the new world. I say it's regrettable to think of a historical truth that was discovered by Marx and Engels, to think that violence gave way to history. In the past, that might be true, but now nuclear war, violence could take us to nuclear war, and that could end with humanity. I hope that's not the case. And President, with the following, we are closing Digital Zone. Venezuelan Foreign Minister Ivan Gil has asked for the elimination of unilateral coercive measures in the world. Venezuela, as a friend of the UN Charter, has proposed a law, and right now we have a video that we want to show against sanctions. Greetings to Venezuela. We are here in the headquarters of the General Assembly of the United Nations. Today, June 16th, a historical day where 116 countries has approved a resolution against unilateral coercive measures, thanks to the leadership of Venezuela and President Nicolás Maduro, and also the group of the Friends of the UN Charter. Over 100 countries that joined the initiative, and Venezuela stands and counts with the UN in their fight against unilateral coercive measures. Great news today in the middle of this pieces of news regarding war, a news that gives us hope. It's a great struggle within the system of the UN, among who wants to kill international law and those who, like us, and also like most countries, who want to relaunch that international system. Today we've had an important step, a huge victory in the General Assembly of the United Nations. Venezuela, along with the countries that make up the Friends of the UN Charter Group, has approved a resolution to reject, as humanity, any form of unilateral coercive measures or any form of coercive measure. And in that respect, after this year, we've created the World Day of the Fight Against Coercive Measures, December 4th of every year. December 4th, the day of Santa Barbara. Is that right? Well, she will lead us so that we can conquer over those empires that think that they can dominate it with those measures. So it's a great victory from Venezuela and the humanity that will not be enslaved and colony of the world. So it's a great piece of news to end here. So Maria Antonieta, let peace reign. We'll see each other soon. Let's go to our next segment now, the economy.